Okay, people. Um, Hi, my name is Victoria Atkin and I run the Performance Capture podcast. We're going to be joined today by, that's the wrong way around. Of Carrie Associates. So she is just signing in now. Hi, Lisa. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes, very well. Lovely to see you. And hello, everybody out there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Everybody's just joining in here now. How are you doing today? How are you?
Yes, very well. It's a rainy, cold day here in Great Britain, or where I am, at least in Great
Yeah.
Britain. But and looking forward, it's Friday, so we're at the end of the day here. So
Yeah,
looking
there you
forward to
go.
what
And the
we
end of the
call
week.
gin o'clock, which
That's
should,
great.
yeah, absolutely, come shortly after this, I would imagine.
Yeah. So everybody's got lots of questions for you today. I thought we could just talk for 20 or 30 minutes or so and just get through the questions. Yes, for people that don't know, Sam is my agent at Carrie Associates. And I thought it was really cool to ask Sam about coming onto this podcast, onto this Instagram chat, because I know a lot of people are asking, well, how do I get into performance capture? And are there agents that cover these things and all this different stuff? So there's lots of questions for you from different people. I'm trying to see how I don't know if I can see your face a bit better because it comes up with all the people. But anyway, I'm going to ask, these are some of the questions that have come in. So I guess we just get started into these. So
Okay.
Joe says, what advice do you have for a dancer? Or first of all, do you want to just talk about a little bit about your agency and how you got into this and who you kind of represent? Because it's a bit different to most agents.
It is, and yeah, I'm a little bit odd, I suppose, compared to most agents. I started business with the wonderful Chris Carey, who has been a close friend of mine for over 30 years. I'm ancient, as I'm sure you've all assumed. We originally started as performers ourselves and ended up working, first of all, in mainstream theatre and TV, and then ended up doing very unusual things. I ended up in the circus, and then I worked in children's television and special effects television, working under animatronics. And Chris was working at, doing plays at the National Theatre, qualified as a stuntman under the assumption that that would then give him more opportunities, and it gave him less. And what we began to realise was that way back in the 90s, was it was very easy for you to fall into a niche. And then you were boxed up by the industry, and then you were never, ever going to do anything else apart from what the industry saw you as. And then as our careers progressed, we both worked in various different production offices. We worked for agents as well, mainstream agents, and discovered that actually what we really, really wanted to do was work with talent, and that we had a real passion for it. But when we started Carey Associates back in 2012, our main priority was to show the industry that performers and actors that had come from probably less conventional backgrounds could work in the mainstream. And it was sort of coinciding with the time that Andy Serkis and Imaginarium were putting together their first group of actors, and he predominantly decided that his first set of actors that he wanted to work with, to make the same point in the industry, would have a background. They would have worked at the RSC or the Royal Court, and all the really established theatrical backgrounds. So it was, at that point we weren't working with them at all. I don't want to give that impression, because obviously that would be very glamorous, absolutely. Yeah. But yes, so when we started, we were looking predominantly and working with actors that, for instance, like Ian White, who's the most incredible actor and performer, 7'1", and played Predator in Alien vs Predator, but also at that point wasn't being seen as anything other than that. But through our experience, and particularly my experience with physical theatre and special effects, and also having good relationships with amazing special effects houses such as Millennium FX, we were working more as consultants as well. So through that, we ended up obviously quite naturally moving towards motion capture, which was quite in its infancy at the time. And the speed of the development of the equipment and the technology since 2012 has been exceptional, because at that point it wasn't particularly photorealistic, and now it truly is. So what we did is we developed, we predominantly have mainstream actors working in TV drama and film, someone like yourself, obviously, who's got a fantastic background, and working in Hollyoaks, and that fabulous TV series, and what what performance capture requires now is incredibly strong actors. And because we had a good mix of the two, it became apparent to people that we were working with in the industry that we had, we could really help find and provide performers that could be exceptionally strong actors, but also a lot of them have that wonderful working knowledge of a performance through, whether it be dance, whether it be physical theatre, whether it be that they had stunt training or fight training. And now I think it speaks for itself, because performance capture is now very much part of mainstream productions, not just computer games. You're seeing used more and more in film and television. And after the current situation, I think we're going to see a massive surge in it as well. Absolutely, because you can't film a lot of things in the traditional way because of the restrictions. So it's going to be a very exciting time. So we've ended up being very well placed.
Yeah, you seem to be extremely, I mean, when Jessica Jeffries told me about your work and who you represent, you just seem ahead of the curve with this, because I know a lot of the actors that are on here at the moment are finding it difficult to discuss with their agents, traditional agents that don't really understand what performance capture is and how to pitch them for that, or even to have any contacts in looking for those types of jobs for them too. So it's very exciting what you do. You just talked about dancers and stunt performers. I have a question from Joe, who says, what advice do you have for a dancer and movement artist wanting to move into performance capture? We were talking to him, he's in one of my classes, and I said, I don't know. You have to ask Sam about that, because I know for an actor, we need on-camera reel, or if they have motion capture reel, something to do with that. But what do you suggest for a dancer that wants to move into this, and how do you represent those, and where are the jobs coming from for them?
Well, I think that, being a dancer is fantastic, because that wonderful knowledge of movement and placement and how to hold yourself, which, that kind of precision is absolutely something that is required, and having that full understanding of how to move. But I think to be able to be working in the motion capture industry, I think taking acting classes would be a great way to add to the skill set that he already has. And at the moment as well, again, because of the current situation, if you're doing self-tapes, people can't go out and make reels. So it's actually a great time for you to start looking at, maybe with an acting tutor, doing a couple of really good monologues and actually using them and putting them on. Over here we use Spotlight. If it's over in LA, the various casting sites there, which, attaching them to the CVs. To show that you really do, because you need to be a really strong actor, I think, to work in this area. So it's about expanding your toolkit. And
do you often see, like, just wanting dancers for performance capture or motion capture? Do you often see jobs for just that, or is it mainly they want an actor that has a dance background, or what do you often see?
Majority of the time, they're actually looking for actors that have extra skills.
Okay.
So, but that's not to say that if you come from a purely physical dance background, that's going to exclude you. Creature work, particularly if you're creating creatures in performance capture, looking for, I've got fantastic performer Phil Holford, who comes from a contemporary dance background. He is a great actor, but he's less confident there, and he's built that up, through working with us. And, but that's, you know, he's ended up working on things like The Mummy. So it's about, I would say, sort of, yeah, there are the opportunities there, but I think it would be more creature-led, a job that's more physically led,
Yeah.
rather than one of the sort of more leading roles within the production.
And he goes on to say, what categories should someone include in their voice demo when they're approaching a voice agent working together? I know you've just set up like Carrie Dodd voices, which is really very exciting. If you were being approached by talent that wanted to be represented for that, are you? I mean, maybe you're just representing your clients that already you have, but what do you want to listen to when somebody's pitching to you for voiceover?
Again, something that's that shows, you know, a good sense of the material. So something that shows good strength of see, get myself all flustered here.
No,
I'm not used to being interviewed.
You're doing great.
Do
Everybody's loving this. There's lots of love hearts and lots of waves at you in the chat, and we're coming to the thing. No, it's really good. It's just helpful because I think a lot of us, especially, I know there's a ton of actors that are on here that are, you know, just not quite sure. They're just navigating this medium, and I guess I'm trying to provide as much information as possible out there. And I know, as you know, it's a medium that's just changing all the time. It's growing with the technology, and so yeah, I think. But I always say that they need to have, for performance capture, like you were just saying, kind of cover all bases: a voiceover reel, an on-camera reel. If they're just voiceover, getting acting classes, or if they're just actors building a voiceover.
Oh, absolutely, because now everybody's looking for the full package. I mean, it used to be split out, but more and more, you know, to be able, and to a certain extent, there still are those separate roles as well. There's still being cast separately, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a voice reel that can show acting strength as well. Good interpretation of character. You don't have to have a crazy animation reel unless that's an area you want to work in.
Yeah.
And then I would recommend that you go to voice artists that are working on animations that you enjoy watching and finding their voice reels, because you'll generally find majority of them have websites, and you will find their reels on their sites. And doing that kind of research really gives you a good idea of pitch and tone and what you're trying to achieve with your reel. Also, you know, the actors that are doing the you know, what I would call the straighter roles, the ones that are less.
We're just reconnecting here. That's all right. It's okay. You're back. Yes. Chris Dodd is on here now. He just said hi. Hello. Cool. Yeah. So I think, it's well, obviously you represent you know, mainstream actors as well as creatives. You have other people, movement directors and creature performers, and Helen Day is a good friend now who you know recommended, and Jessica Jeffries, who is a casting director. You look after those. So Chris says, so proud of my goddaughter Sam.
Oh, good God. I love you too, Uncle Chris.
So Chris, as we mentioned, is Sam's partner at Carrie Dodd Associates, so we're just having a bit of fun.
No, Chris Dodd is not.
Oh,
he's my uncle.
Oh, he is your uncle. Sorry, I thought this was.
No.
I thought this was Chris Carey. Okay, that's funny.
No, Chris Carey's already on the gym. He isn't here.
That's funny. Helen actually just waved. She's Little Bird 7. So Dan says, for both voiceover and performance capture, what are the drawbacks, if any, for an agent actor relationship living in different countries? I'm currently based in Germany with strong ties to the UK but none to the US. And then he goes on to say, I've been approached by oh my goodness, where is it gone? Been approached by German agents. They're asking for an upfront fees and fixed term contracts. Seems odd. What is the standard in the UK, US for contracts? Are there exclusive deals common?
Well, first of all, you should never have to pay to sign with an agent. That's an absolute no-no. And I actually believe it's illegal in the UK. I don't know whether it is in Germany, but absolutely not. There isn't generally, I mean, you know, I work with you. You're in LA
Yeah.
majority of the time, but you have a base in the UK, and I have some actors that are based in Germany and in France, for instance. And it's not a perfect situation, but it can work very well. It works better for me when my client who is not based in the UK has a little more profile, because it's difficult to start somebody in the industry if they're not in the town, in in your country, because they can't meet the people. Not that people can physically meet at the moment, but in general, they can't meet the people that you need them to meet to start building relationships. But it is feasible.
Yeah.
And also
I think things are going to be changing a lot now with this situation. I mean,
definitely. I mean, self-tape, I think majority of first rounds of castings are going to be
exclusively self-tapes. Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see. I mean, obviously as well, you've got the graduates coming out at the moment, and I you know, feel very strongly about their situation, and it's a very difficult time to graduate at the moment. So if there's any graduates out there, you know, pop me a line. I'm always very happy to talk to graduates as well. I've been trying to do a lot of that, and I know lots of the agents have been. But yeah, if you're based outside of the UK, self-taping is always an option. But a lot of actually, I think all of my performers, as long as they're not, even the ones based in LA like yourself and Helen, have locally based agents as well. If my artists are based in the UK, then I'm exclusive, except for voiceover, because our voiceover side has only just started.
Well, I just turned it around by accident. I was trying to tap the screen and just thing. Yeah, sorry. And you were saying, the voiceover now is separate.
Definitely look for a German agent. If he's in Germany, definitely look for a German agent, not one that's going to make you pay money, because that doesn't work like that. But and you can then, when you get a little bit more on your CV, you know, you're very welcome to apply for an agent in the UK. And another thing as well, if you're applying for any agent, I strongly recommend that they're part of, if they're British agent, that they're part of the PMA, which is the Personal Managers Association.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's very key.
Jessica, who you're meeting, you guys will see tomorrow. Yay. Fabulous woman. She's done incredible work about creating contracts and working terms and conditions for performers in motion capture, working particularly on computer games. And you know, the work that she's done, she's also done in conjunction with, or in consultation with, the PMA, the Personal Managers Association, and of course Equity, which is the British Actors Union. And she has led it all the way, and she's been amazing. But the agents that are under the PMA, if they have a performer that's suddenly working in performance capture, based production, computer game, whatever, they've already got a support system in place to make sure that the best terms are being negotiated as possible, as they possibly can. It's still a little bit like the Wild West when it comes to negotiation.
Yeah, because it's growing and everything. I just want to jump on again, just for new people that have just signed up. There's quite a lot of people on live now with us, which is really nice. If you have a question, pop it in the comments. I'm going through some of the questions that are already underneath the post on Sam's post. But if you do have a question, please put them down. Sam is a agent in the UK who looks after people not only in TV and film, but in motion capture, stunts and movement. So Brian, he says, can you be represented again? This, I think I know the answer to this, but I think you should clarify. Can you be represented by another acting agent and be represented as a physical performer, i.e. puppeteer and mocap? How does that work? I mean, yours is a one-stop shop, but what about other people?
It depends on the agent. Majority of agents, I think majority of PMA agents, I would say, would expect to represent exclusively, and there's a good reason for that, and that is because a PMA agent will, you know, have the knowledge to be able to source those jobs and also negotiate them correctly. I personally wouldn't represent somebody alongside a motion capture agent. The only agencies that I consider working alongside are, say, an agent and manager in LA, so a different country I would look at, or a voiceover agent within the UK. There's voiceover agencies I'm really happy to work alongside, but not a separate mocap agency. And also as well, it doesn't, if you're signed with a mocap agency, that's great. But
there's not many of those that even exist.
No, there isn't. So. And then I know there's none under the PMA as far as I know, there's none under the PMA.
Yeah.
And it's not also going to give you fair representation, because you want to look at getting opportunities in all areas of the industry. Because if you're doing motion capture, you're going to have strong performance skills. And so you want to really be with an agent that can also put you up for commercials and TV drama, a little bit of Holby City never hurt anybody, all those kinds of things.
We've all done our time.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, no, it's really, I just think it's really unique that you guys are doing that and you're looking after. If anybody hasn't visited their website, which I think is really, really good actually, it shows the creatives and the actors alongside each other. I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions here. Jasper has a question. He said, I'm very aware agents are very busy, but if you feel the relationship with your agent is becoming distant and communication seems faltering despite your best efforts, is it possible to remedy that? Or what do you, how do you, I mean, you're obviously very busy and you have lots of people that you look after. I think this is kind of an interesting question, but a question that a lot of actors want to ask, what's the fine line between bugging an agent and kind of not feeling it's working or something like that? And what advice do you have for actors?
We keep a small book because Chris and I like to work very closely with our performers, and we feel that open lines of communication are really important, because that way we can continually represent our clients in the industry in the best possible way and promote them in the best possible way.
Yeah.
If you're feeling that those lines of communication are breaking, I think that it is worthwhile trying to book a meeting with your agent to see whether you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
And if your gut feeling is telling you that it's not working, then try and have that conversation, and then it might be time to look at having fresh representation, because you've got to feel comfortable and confident with the person that's representing you and the agency that's representing you.
Yeah.
Because you walking into audition rooms and jobs, you're walking on your own, but you want to feel like you've got that support system behind you, and so it is important that you continue to be able to maintain a professional relationship and between client and actor. And I think you need to
there's nothing, I think there's we have enough hurdles to fight as actors in the industry. Then you need to have that support system behind you, and again that goes for family support as well, and relationships, stuff like that. I think it's really key to have a strong foundation when you're going into this industry, or you're moving.
No, sure. I mean, at the moment, everybody is really tested, but mental health is a very big part of what we do, and I think what all agents are doing moving forward. It's so important that people feel like they can, if they're having an issue, discuss it as well. Because also, we don't want to send someone into an audition and we find out that they've got something going on, that they're not feeling sure-footed, and it's not fair to put people in those situations. But you need, we as agents need to know, that you're feeling on top, and if there is anything that we can do in a professional way, then we need to have that opportunity. So open communication is absolutely key and very, very important.
Jeff says, are agency commissions in the UK the same as they are elsewhere, like LA, 10% per booking?
No, they're not. It depends on the agent. Again, another reason to sign with a PMA agent, because they have fixed maximum rates, really, or recommended maximum rates, which everybody, as far as I know, does keep to. Because we say they're guidelines, they're very strict guidelines. Which is a very good thing. British rates, depending on the agent, they can vary depending on the type of work. But I do know as well that once, again, different agencies have different policies, but if we're sharing a client with someone in the US, then we will then there's deals that go in place which are kind of set in stone. So then you're not paying more than you would expect to pay if you had an agent in both territories. But if you're solely represented in the UK, then yes, they are different. Yeah.
My question, I know a lot of, we were doing sort of a marketing week on Zoom this week in my classes, and we are talking about how best to approach agents. And I was suggesting you don't just talk about yourself nonstop. Is there any advice that you would give agents, actors that are listening to, you know, what's one of your favorite sort of emails to receive or letters to receive? How do you prefer to be contacted, and what kind of stands out for you? I mean, well, is it ink-scented paper or what is it?
I can tell you the absolute no-nos. Please don't start at dear sir or madam.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do your research and make sure that the agents that you're applying to do actually work, or predominantly work, in the areas that you're really interested in and that you want to work in and that appeal to your skill set. You know, check out their roster. In the UK, in America, they don't do that, but in the UK, you'll find that the majority of agents, their clients are actually on their website. So you can check out, you know, whether they're doing the kind of work that you want to do. And, you know,
in the US too, I mean, IMDb Pro and
oh, well, of course,
like that, you can
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I mean, they're less likely in the US to have a dedicated website to all of their clients.
Yeah.
Because they're a little bit more frightened of poaching over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But IMDb is, yeah, that's a good place if you're looking at LA managers and agents. Yeah. Absolutely. When I prefer personally to have an email, and we have on our website a dedicated email address for applications called applications@carey.associates.com. Okay. Do send, whatever you do, don't send large attachments to any agent on any email, because if you have to remember that we receive not just applications all the time, we're receiving scripts, we're receiving all kinds of media, and our inboxes can get just crammed. And so large files tend to be a real bugbear. So always use links. If you've got Spotlight, always make sure your Spotlight link is in there. In your email, basically contact them, say what you've been doing recently, what attracted you to Carey.Associates, and why you think you might work well, or, you know, or whoever the agent is, who you might work well with. If you don't know the name of an agent that you want to apply to and you can't find it on the website, don't be afraid to call the main number and just ask, you know, who's the lead agent there, or who represents this particular area in this this agency, so that you can at least say for the attention of, and then start your name, dear Sam or dear Chris or whoever it might be, because then you look like you've done your homework. And these days, because you have the internet, which you didn't have when I started, so you had to, it was
really do your research and send out paper copies and print things.
Yeah, and hunt stacks of photos that you would send out, which you would never see again.
Yeah, that's right. Then they just show up later on when you're trying to sort your house out. Yeah, that's good. So if anybody, just again chatting on with a few more minutes there, Jeff says the phone book. Yeah, if anybody has any questions for Sam, I've been reading the ones. I'm just going to check on the Instagram again. I know there was a question for, I think it's on my, hold on, let me see my Facebook page. I think there was a question from Hansel too. Hansel, what is the best way to take advantage, again, we talked about this a little bit, of our dance training in the world of motion capture. What are the most effective tools a client can provide you nowadays when pitching that client? So I guess when you're pitching, that's a good question, when you're pitching so an actor for a job, what do you tend to use the most, and what's the most useful to have, like, I guess, reel wise and stuff?
Well, I always call it the chocolate box, because, you know, the first thing that everyone sees is the headshot. So, you know, good headshots. Don't go for, if you're going for a headshot, don't go for what we call the God shot, which is kind of peering out the shadows and looking into the distance. Please don't do that. No, you want a really good, clear headshot that shows you is nicely lit, and we can see your bone structure and the eyes really connect with whoever's looking at it. So, you know, no off to the side or anything like that. Save that for, you know, when you're doing your magazine spread. And then what you've got inside that is show reel. So important these days. Even if it's a self-tape, a good self-tape is worth its weight in gold. So, you know, if you haven't had the opportunity to get some really decent professional footage from a production that you've been in, don't be afraid to do a self-tape. Show reels, keep them under 3 minutes. Majority of casting directors, when they're casting, if they've got quite a lot on, which they tend to be quite busy people this time aside, they may not watch beyond the first minute or so. Don't have a montage on the front. If you're desperate to have a montage of all your fabulous action, pop it on the end.
On the back. But they won't get to.
Absolutely. And obviously your CV, make sure that it's kept up to date. If you've got Spotlight, make sure that's kept up to date. The show reels are up to date on there. A lot of time when I'm talking to a casting director and I'm talking about a specific client, they'll have, in the UK, they'll have Spotlight open, and you can hear them typing in the name, and they'll be bringing that up. So that is, you know, over in the UK, incredibly important, is Spotlight. They do have the monopoly, but they are worth every penny. And I'm not just saying that. I don't have shares in Spotlight, I can assure you. I wish it did.
Jasper says, what's the best way of putting together a movement reel? If, for instance, if you have animal and creature work, have you seen any that are really good?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, if you go to our Vimeo page, you will see some fantastic examples. Look at my client Malik Ibhais, look at Ian White, and look at Phil Holford. Those three have fantastic reels. And those are really good examples of what a movement reel can look like. We've got some incredible movement performers. I mean, there are many more than those three, and I'm sure if any of them are watching, I might get it in the neck tomorrow that I haven't mentioned them. I love you all. All of my guys are fabulous. Of course they are.
Yeah,
so have a look at that. That would give you a really good idea, because a lot of my guys do creature work, and the information is there on our Vimeo page. You can see all of those reels there. Yeah.
Do you
even you're there?
Yeah. And do you think what do you suggest with actors networking in this kind of medium too? You know, how does that help you, you know, if they have their own sort of contacts that can help with your pitches and things like that? Would you encourage them to reach out to studios and reach out? Because this industry is like you say, is ever evolving, and you know, there's only so much, and thankfully you're an agent that's ahead of the curve with this stuff. But again, I guess you're building your contacts every day in there, and
there's always people coming up and growing and developing new areas. And also as well, again, it goes back to this communication between agent and client. You're a team. I strongly believe that. So I actively encourage networking, going and doing classes with casting directors. One thing that is key, again, communication has to work both ways. So do tell the agent if you have good relationships with, say, certain director or casting director or producer. Those kinds of things are really great, so that when then the agent is talking to them, they don't suddenly find halfway through, they go, yeah, I know him.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. You know, oh great, so I've just spent the last 5 minutes telling you things you already know.
Yeah,
and then that gives you a chance to be a step further on in the conversation. And I know as well, sometimes it can feel, say a job has come direct to an actor, and they feel, why should I put it through the agent? But actually, a good agent, even if they haven't sourced it, which is not, you know, I'd say that, you know, a good agent should be sourcing about at least 85% of your work anyway. But if something does come to you direct, there's a good reason for you to then employ your agent to do the contracting, because you can, as an actor, you can.
Well, you never want to be doing that, talking about that stuff, but you don't want to be getting on set and negotiate. I mean, it's just a mess.
No, it is. And you end up on mates rates, which is the most awful thing in the world.
But also you feel like you're on the back foot when you're on set because you can't really ask for the things that you need. So
Yeah.
definitely putting things through your agent, even if you do hear about it through yourself, it just also it relieves a lot of I don't know, anxiety. You can focus on your work and they can do the other bit. One of another agent said once that especially in the US is that the agents get 10%. So, you should be doing 90% of your work too. I don't know how, not your work, but like the effort, like hustling and doing some work on your own behalf. Like
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, absolutely. You don't just sit there and wait for the phone to ring, because one also as well, you want to constantly be exercising your skills. You don't want them to get rusty. So even if it's just doing workshops or classes, all of those things are important, because also as well, it's important for your own mental health again, because you then you feel like you're using your skills and you're not becoming disconnected. Because again, that's the other thing, when you have an agent, the agent is doing a large proportion of work for you, but then you are not directly dealing with anything, and you can also feel like nothing much is going on. So again, which circles round to the communication issue. So yeah, absolutely, go out there, network, but let your agent know who you're meeting, who you're talking to, and then they can follow up, and you can have some fantastic results doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good one, especially if you have like like a casting director workshop, or you work with a director or something like that. Also, I say to people, your peers, you just never know what people are going to be doing, especially if you're a graduate. Where people are going to be in 10 years, or just your colleagues and your friends can become some of your best comrades and people that you end up working with. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, has anyone got any other questions whilst we're still here? Because we've been chatting for half an hour, so I think this is really cool, and we've gone through some. I'm trying to think if I have any other questions I want to ask you for now.
You're always welcome to ask me anything.
I know, I do, and that's what I like about you. They're very open. Jasper says, "Is it worth contacting the casting director if you don't book a job, but you feel you had a good time in the room?"
There's nothing wrong with sending a quick thank you. Just don't send them an essay. Yeah, absolutely. And don't bug them. But good manners goes a long way in this industry.
Yeah.
And if you really feel like you've connected, there is no problem with sending a quick email, or asking your agent just to follow up and say, Tom had a fabulous time in the room. Thank you so much for seeing him. Do keep him in mind for future jobs. And
do you think that's nicer to just, go, oh, can you say thank you for me? Can you just forward this email? I think
absolutely.
Maybe a nicer way of.
Not every casting director have their contact details available in the public domain. Yeah. And us as agents as well, we're not allowed, because of data protection, to give that out. And there's a good reason for that as well. If it's not been put in the public domain, then that's because they don't want.
For a reason.
Yeah.
For a reason.
So, absolutely. So, an agent is best at handling the politics of a situation.
Sorry, Yaron has a question. I just saw. Thank you for reminding me, Yaron, in the question box. It flashed up, and then I just looked. He was saying he was wondering if reels with 2 languages will be taken seriously. I have some recent work in Dutch that I'd be happy to show.
Oh, absolutely. But I would always lead with the language which is the main language of the area that's casting. So if it's a UK or an American production, make sure that or what's on the front of your show reel is something in English, and then slot in the Dutch scene. Or you can have it as a separate reel that you would send out saying, this is my show reel, but I also I speak Dutch, and I did this production for this particular country. Then they've got an opportunity to look at it, and they are very useful. As I say, I've got performers that are French and German and Spanish, and all of them have reels that have a scene in their native language slotted in there, but it's just not on the front, because obviously.
But again, lead if you're approaching a German agent, lead with your German. If you're approaching
precisely,
that makes sense. Dan, this will be probably one of the last questions. Dan says, in your experience, how often does puppetry come in handy on performance capture shoots? How many of your clients have puppetry experience? Well, Helen just also was saying, talking about puppetry, thank you, I am a client, and this was still super informative.
Oh, lovely. I shall talk to you later.
Yaren says,
I'll
thank
buy
you
you a
for
bottle
answering
of
that
wine.
question about Dutch. Yeah. So yeah, puppetry. What do you think?
Puppetry, yes, of course, it is useful, and it's an incredibly useful skill. It's
Thank
becoming
you.
more and more useful in the industry. It's one of those skills that ebbs and flows. There's been a lot of productions in the last sort of 5 or so years that have a lot of puppetry, and they've been big mainstream productions, blockbuster films. With regards to motion capture, a lot of the work that Imaginarium have done, they've experimented using puppeteers that are also, strong physical performers. For instance, Jungle Book, they did elements of the motion capture where 2 or 3 people would be one of the cats or, one of the actual creatures, and they work, in symmetry with each other, and it's sort of slotted together and used as reference. Not as much as you might think, but it has been done, and I know that they continue to workshop those kinds of ideas. So yeah, puppetry can be incredibly useful, absolutely.
And again, it's probably like as an additional reel to a main reel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, you want to have that. You want to at least be able to show physical performance, ideally, strong acting alongside the puppetry. I do have actors that are predominantly puppeteers that are incredible. Andrew James Spooner, again, most amazing puppeteer, worked in some incredible shows, but also incredibly strong actor. So he's also, worked on comedy shows like Lee and Dean as himself, playing, hilarious.
So acting first, always.
Acting first, always, absolutely.
Yeah. People are just saying, thank you for your expertise. Great to know that different skills like dancing, martial arts, and languages help. People are saying this is amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. And just this is a really great interview. Creature work is something I definitely like to do. This is really, really good. Well, thank you everybody for being part of this, and thank you, Sam, so much for your time today. I know you're very busy, and
you're very welcome.
We're just happy to have you and your expertise and just tips, and thank you for sharing this, because it's so valuable for us as actors to hear from the other side of things. I think, like you said, sometimes we think, oh, we don't really know what's going on, and especially right now in quarantine, everybody's anxiety is up more than usual, and I'm sure you're feeling the pressure as agency as well, with the kind of stop of career and things not as fast paced as they were before. But I'm pretty sure things will pick up, and we'll all be back doing different things in a new normal. But yeah.
Absolutely. And it's been a delight. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We'll have to do it again sometime, but this was really, really good. And I'll try and save this on the live, so it'll be available for 24 hours, so everybody can rewatch it and write down notes that they didn't. Amy Floyd says, so brilliant. Hansel says, you ladies rock. Bryony says, thank you for your thoughts. And thank you both. Thank you. Very useful to hear from an agent and values physical theatre performance. So cool.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right then. Thank you, Sam. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy the gym. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.